All right, let's go over reverb. Yeah, reverb. Everyone get excited for reverb. Come on. Open. Reverb and delay. So, both of these instruments, both of these effects are good for filling up space. Like you could make they're good for filling up space and changing the mood of things. They can add stereo very easily and stuff. So let's do delay first. So Bitwig has delay 1, 2, and 4. I'm gonna be completely honest right now. I do not know how delay 1 or delay 4 works, but we'll try to figure it out. So let's look at delay 2. They're not an instrument, they're an effect. So you will not get anything positive out of this. And that's not going to work. This also isn't working because it thinks it's a cool. MIDI keyboard still isn't working. So I had to deal with a super latent keyboard, which is like my desktop keyboard, because it's not as good as my laptop one. Response time. So this is what the regular sound is. And this is what delay does. And then if you... So that's from 0 to 50%, right? You can think of the mix as like your volume. But once you hit 50... This is funny. So as you turn the mix from 0 to 50%, the volume of the delay will get stronger, but once you start to go over 50%, the volume of the delay doesn't actually get any louder past once you hit 50%, but it will decrease the input volume of the sounds to the point where it's only delay coming out. So yeah, so how this delay 1 here works is you have, so basically you have this little box here. So if you click this little music note, it'll switch between hertz, which is displayed in a form of seconds in this case, or will go between 1 to 16, and these are relevant to bars. So this would be 1 out of 1, this would be 1 out of 2, 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4. So it's from like 1 bar to half a bar to a third of a bar to then beats to like quarter beats. This is the full bar. So every time I play this note, the reverb's gonna play really fast. Well, hang on. Sorry, I said that backwards. This 1 basically means 1 out of 16. And then it will go up. So once you're at 16, you're at 16 out of 16, which means you're only going to get a note every full bar. So like if I were to actually place MIDI here. and then I were to wait for this to die down, that's not what I wanted to do. Come on. So if I play this, you'll notice it won't actually delay again until I hit this 2. See that? It's every beat. And then when I go to this, it'll be slightly before 2. 14 would be a little more before 2. 13's a little more before 2. All the way down to you get to like 12, which is going to be the 3rd beat in the bar. And then 8 would be half a beat. And then you have a 1/4 beat. So that will go every bar. Like that, and then you're down to 1, which will just play on every single 16th, which makes it sound like reverb, which is the next thing we're going to go into. Which makes it sound like reverb because the delays are so fast. And then your cuts down here is basically, think about it as it having like a built-in... It's like a built-in bandpass. So if you were to have this, right? So it's like, so the cut right now is at like 60. So this is exactly what this is doing for you right now, and then this is at 3000, so I'll bring this down to 3000. This is what this would look like in EQ, just like before the delay, and if this was off, that's what it's doing. So as you change this, it would also change that if you were to want to look at it or whatever. It's that's basically what it's doing. It's just what is it focusing on? So it's a low pass and then a high pass and then a low pass, and you set the values or whatever on it. And this offset knob is the beats you've picked to how relevant are the beats offset. So like if I say it's like 1 and then I offset it by like 5%, it's going to be like 1 in 5% of 1 before it actually plays. So it's not going to be exactly every 16th. It's going to be like every 15th or something. I never use that knob personally, but it can have help. The feedback's basically like, how do I put this? It's like the delay length in this case, I suppose. Feedback, like the feedback knob and reverb and delay, and in most cases, isn't one of those things I can explain because I haven't researched it or been exposed to it enough. It's just something that I know what results I'll get if I use it. I don't know why it does what it does, I just know how it works. Basically, if you want it to last longer, just turn this up a bit. The actual, like... Every delay is going to get quieter, so the higher you turn this up, the longer it's going to take for it to come down, and the longer the tail will be because of feedback. But like I said, I don't know exactly why it does that. So, there you go. It might have something to do with phase. So then we'll go on to delay 2. So delay 2 is the one I always use. The reason for that is because I can get left and right delay separately. So the way the first delay worked, delay 1, is delay 1 does what's called the ping pong. Or sorry, not the ping pong. What am I thinking of? You know it would have an example for this. Sorry, why did I say that? That is normal delay, where left and right will be played at the same time, and for the purposes, and because of that, there will be no real stereo gain from having delay and having it repeat. It's just kind of stuttering the note, similar to if you're to play a solid note and then have like a volume gate that got quieter as it progressed. That's literally what a delay does. And then, however, what delay 2 does is you can do what's called the ping pong the ping pong delay, which allows you to separate left and right delay. So now it's going to sound like more stereo than this did, because the delay 2 is replicating the sound at different phases, because there's a detune option, but if I were to take that off, it'll play them at the exact same time. You play detune, it will change the pitch they come out at, which means it's going to change how fast the frequency of the wave that's being played, which means there's going to be phase cancellation, which is directly responsible for making stereo, and that's exactly why detuning works the way it does. So, and the rate's going to be how fast the vibrato, the pitch difference is on the, like how you could have vibrato on massive. I really could have just used the one I already had. There's vibrato in here, right? It's just adding that to a certain extent to whatever it is to the delay, right? So, and then once again, so basically there's 2 of these delay modules inside of here now. You have a left and a right. This is really nice for creating in-depth kind of delays, especially kinds of delays that you want to ping pong back and forth. Panning, that's part of panning. Panning is really important if you're trying to make simple sounds that shouldn't take up too much focus start to take up a lot more focus, kind of thing. So you can have delay that's like far out from each other. The feedback knob, again, is similar. Like, you could literally take... It's like having two delay things, and then just having a left and right for them. They have, like, all their things, except they have, like, a global high cut and low cut. They have this detune option now to change the right and left's pitch, make pitch difference, and they have a width option because... This being just single, this delay being just a single output source, cannot have any kind of width because there is no stereo, because it's playing what was already given to it. So the width of whatever the delay that's going to come out of this reverb will be entirely based on the width and stereo imaging of the sound that was first produced. This has no option to do that because the delay 2 is making a left and right difference. It can do that, if that makes any sense. And there's a mix, which again does the same thing as this one does. There's a crossfeed knob. This crossfeed has something to do with how the left and right interact with each other. It's something you kind of do want to have up. It's kind of like the signal that's coming out on the left is being, in a way, shared or transferred to the right, rather than having them be separate and just like clicking. I can't explain this. I'm horrible at this. just keep it to whatever it was when you first started. Basically, like the smoother, it'll sound smoother. Right, like... Then if I turn all the way up. Oh, that's weird. Just don't mess with the crossfeed knob. It sounds like another feedback kind of thing, which is interesting. And then we'll go on to delay 4, which I've never in my life used. So let's have fun with this one. Sorry, just give me a second to, like, observe. Oh, this is getting interesting. Okay, so delay 4 is essentially 4 of the delay 1s, but with the option to interact between 4 delay output voices opposed to the 2 output delay voices. And you can see there's actually a feedback matrix where you can send send delay to other delays in a similar manner as the crossfeed in delay 2. And you can adjust the actual volume of the FX here in, like, this knob here. So you can have 4 delay voices. This would have some really cool advanced sound design processes, but really you could get this to work the exact same as delay 2 just by only activating effects 1 and 2 and, like, the ins 1 and 2, panning 1 to the left, panning 1 to the right, and then but why do that? Because delay 2 is simpler. This one doesn't look like it has any detune option, although it does have some slots for effects that you can insert to. So I'm sure you could get that out one way or another. It has an out, and it has a pan option. It has the time option. Filtering, just less knob-based and more number-based. And, yeah. That is the delay. Reverb does this. Reverb is just really fast delay. So if we go back to delay here, and we have these set on 16ths. Similar to how if I were to like so yeah, there you go. So like it kind of sounds like the delay now-ish. So reverb's just the result of fast delay, and every time in the real world how you used to get reverb is you would make a recording, play a recording inside some sort of room, and then record the volume of the of whatever's being played, which would ruin your sound quality-ish, but you would get reverb that way. That was like one of the only ways to get reverb back in the day, where you used to have to record into like a record and like reverse play it out. So that's what that is. Now, the reverb in Bitwig is multiband reverb. It is not your standard reverb, such as the RC series or FL Studio's reverb. They're not multiband. Now, what this basically means is that this reverb's going to sound more metallic, and the reverb from FL Studio or from RC48 will sound more organic. So easier, at least. So yeah, that's what's up with that. So you have a high band, a mid band, and a low band. So when you turn this all the way down, you can only get 56% less than, 44% less volume than the whatever your actual release time is, which will affect your middle band and in a percentage way affect your outer bands as well. So when you want to cut low stuff, this is a good way of quickly doing it. If you want to cut low end reverb, you can sit here and adjust the knob, and then you can set your other high stuff as so. You can hear the difference there. So obviously if it decays much faster than everything else, you won't notice it as much, but that won't do the same as putting down an EQ and doing like this, for example. This is still much more effective in killing off that unwanted reverb than the other way is. So yeah, it's fast delay. So in Bitwig's reverb, you have the option between your kinds of rooms. You have a hall and room. You have your size. You can't do negative size. It just starts at 100% of the size, right? And you can increase that up to 200% or down to 50%. And then you have a delay, which basically how long does it take before your actual reverb activates. So if I click this real quick, if I take it off, you can hear how like the reverb kind of comes after the note when it's on max. So that's what that does. Your diffusion is the I'm not sure how to explain it. I think it's like the walls, the amount of walls, theoretical walls that your echoes would be bouncing off of, your delays would be bouncing off of. I'm not 100% sure. I honestly never really use the diffusion. The knobs that you want to focus on the most are your width, your mix, build up early and late, and then your release time, and then your size, and then whether or not it's room or hall. So your release time is the amount of seconds it's going to take for the tail. and then your early late is like kind of decides how your tail is gonna come out. It's like, what kind of situation could that be compared to? Okay, so like, I'll try to show this using automation, like wide automation of like the volume or something. So basically, say your reverb was like this. This is the amount of activated it is, the bottom being 0. When you do your early late, so what's going to happen is when you change your early late, what it's going to do is oh no, now it's going to constantly try to change the knob I have. So let's add a permanent automation lane here. And just shrink this, and then there we go. I just figured out how to explain this, and now I can't. Okay, basically what this early late does is it kind of kills the space in between here. So the lower it is, the more close together this is going to be, right here. There's kind of like a hold that it applies to your sound, your tail, and then this decay is your tail. So it kind of keeps like the fatness or the steadiness of the tail before it actually becomes a tail. It makes it like a sound until it becomes a tail. So the early delay is just kind of the time in between before the tail actually starts. Your build up is how long does it take before your reverb will like reach a maximum and be this part before the tail. So in conjunction, if you have the build up, come on, don't do this to me. What's happening right now? Oh, my volume's a little down, so this build-up will also kind of stop it from sounding left and righty. It will kind of keep it solid on both speakers as well. And then your mix and your width just determines how wide it sounds. And that's it. Nothing too fancy. I'm sure I probably explained some things not 100% correct, but correct me if you wish. If not, nothing I said will change the way you use the plugin anyways. Like, just turn knobs, does stuff. You just need to really focus on the mix and like release times and the amount of theoretical walls your sound is bouncing off of to minimize it from it sounding like really jumpy to more smooth. So depending on what you want, and that's it.